Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave and today we're going to be talking about pedal boards and whatnot. Now recently I built myself a new pedal board. Basically the one I was using was basically outgrown. I got a stump box or two more that would actually fit on there comfortably. So I looked around at what was available, and sort of off the shelf pedal boards, they're either a little bit too small or a little bit too big. Some of them were price-wise a little hard to justify, to be honest. So I went down the route of building my own, fairly straightforward stuff. Basically, I'd looked at things like the pedal train boards. They're really good, but I couldn't find one that was quite the right size for me. And some of the off-the-shelf pedal boards, they marketed they kind of fit in with their own pedal power supplies, which is cool, but I've got a power supply that works fine, so I didn't really want to get rid of that. So what I did was came up with a design for something that would fit all my pedals, my power supply, and some fairly tidy cabling. And just basically went down the timber supply merchant, got a couple of pieces of wood, some screws, and basically spent an afternoon building a board. So it basically looks like this. It's kind of a two-tier design. When you've got two rows of pedals, you want to be able to get at the pedals on the back row comfortably without standing on or catching any of the pedals on the front row. It's quite easy if you reach over to a pedal at the back with the heel of your foot to catch something on the front row and knock the knobs or something and change the settings. So there's two ways you can go about that. You can either build a board that's at an angle, or what I've done here is go for like a two-tier sort of design. So the pedals at the back, they're only an inch or so higher than the pedals at the front, but it's enough to give me clearance over the top to catch to control the pedals on the back without catching the pedals on the front with my foot as I'm doing it. Okay, so let's go down onto the board. I'll show you what I've got, the way they're laid out, and some of the logic behind the signal path that I've got. Right, so here's the board. What we've got, top corner here, we've got the famed DCT200. It's a multi-way power supply, and that's powering all bar one of the pedals on the board. That, and actually most of the things on the board, I've actually done separate reviews of, so I'll stick some links in the information section below if you want to go and check out any of these items in a bit more detail. Next to that, I've got a patch panel. It looks a bit untidy, basically because of constraints on space. This is basically like a one-unit Pappers box sort of thing you'd use for putting in like a mains single mains wall socket or a light switch or something. Blank panel on top that I drilled 8 holes in and then fixed 4 pairs of jack sockets, and I wired those in pairs tip to tip, ring to ring, to allow me to have an input and an output. So that basically all of the cabling from the amp is on this side and all the cabling for the board is on this side. So the idea is if I want to move the board around, I need to unplug these 4 and I'm good to go. I don't have to faff on trying to plug the guitar or the amp into various parts along the pedal board itself. So this cable goes to the guitar, then that input is wired to this one. And I've got a cable goes from here into the TC Polytune, from the Polytune into the TC Sentry noise gate, then on the loop from the Sentry go to the Digitech Screaming Blues overdrive distortion, into the Digitech Bad Monkey, Blackstar LT boost, and then from there back to the patch panel, and from the patch panel onto the input on the amp. Amp is a Hayden HGTA 40 watt all valve amp that I'm sort of experimenting with at the minute. Changed from my usual Blackstar gear. So I've got the foot switch for the amp down here, so I've got a channel change, and it's a 3-channel amp, so there's another button there for switching between the 2 dirty channels. Effects loop on the amp comes into here, then from the patch panel go to the Boss CH1 Super Chorus, TC Electronic Flashback, BBE Sonic Stomp Maximizer, Boss RV6 Reverb, then back to the patch panel, and from the patch panel onto the effects loop return on the amp. Okay, so let's hear how these effects sound. In terms of signal order, it's fairly conventional. All the drives on the input to the amp, and then on the effects loop, modulation followed by delay, followed by reverb. Just turn everything off so you can hear the unaffected signal. Guitar, I'm using my very heavily modified 1985 Squire Strat, made in Japan. It's got a DiMarzio Ibiza pickup in the bridge and a DiMarzio Sat track in the neck, and it sounds like this. So this is both pickups together, just into the amp. Now, first effect I always add is reverb. I just find it's quite difficult not to play with reverb. It just sounds unnatural to me, so click the reverb in. So that's with the reverb. Just fills the sound out a bit, and I've also got a bit of dynamic delay from the flashback. I think it just fills the sound out quite nicely. The other effect which I have on pretty much all the time is the BBE Sonic Stomp. Just fairly subtle. Basically, it just gives the sound a bit. It's difficult to describe. It just makes the guitar sound better, basically. So that's the three effects that I've got on pretty much all the time. And so what I sometimes do on the clean channel is just kick in a bit of chorus. Just to wet the tone up a little bit. Okay, so that's basic clean sound. Good pick up there. And in terms of drive sounds in the clean channel here, so all you're hearing is the only distortion sound you're hearing is from the pedals. Got the Screaming Blues. Which has got quite a bit of top to it. Bad Monkey's a bit more mid-range. And there's the boost, which basically makes things louder. It's a clean boost, there's no drive on here. Turn the bass and treble up a little bit just to fatten the sound up. But on the clean channel of the amp, with a bit of a boost, it does start to break up ever so slightly. So if you turn the gain right the ways up, you start to get to that sort of like AC/DC type of drive sound. Dirty channel on the amp, like I said, it's a 3-channel amp, so foot switch there takes me to this is the crunch channel. And I think the amp actually takes pedals quite well up front, so this is the gain 1 channel, which is crunch, which got a little bit of drive to it, but bringing in another pedal on top. Sings quite nicely. Again, a Bad Monkey. Or just a boost to give it a bit more drive. If I want, I can use those sort of like in combination. Which gives me a few options. And also over here on this foot switch, I've got this one here, which allows me to change between the crunch channel and the lead channel. So this channel on the amp's got a lot more gain on it. put a bit of boost onto that. So this guitar is down in drop D, so I've got a D on the bottom string. Yeah, there's plenty enough dirt on there. If I want, you know, kick into like the Screaming Blues on top of that, so a bit of gain stacking onto a high gain channel. So high gain channel there, plenty enough gain, and then the option, of course, to add in other stomp boxes along the way, but it still retains the the basic voice of the amp. Just you know, varies it a little bit with the gain sound coming out of the pedals. So it's a fairly straightforward setup. Like I say, it's not you know, no MIDI or anything like that. And you know, all the pedals up here tend to be on pretty much all the time. It's just a case of using either channel switching on the amp or the gain pedals to give different type of gain sound. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention about the power supply. I said at the start that this is powering all bar one of the pedals. Basically, it's got 8 and 9 volt outputs on it. As you can see, there's 9 pedals on the board. So all of these are powered off the DCT200, and the reverb is powered from the power out on the Polytune. No particular reason for choosing the reverb pedal to be powered off the tuner, other than it was the one that was furthest away from the power supply, and it meant there was less. I wasn't going to be really stretching a power cable to get it to reach right the ways up the corner. So once the board was all, you know, all built and wired together, gives cable tie and everything up to keep it nice and neat. And like I said, if I want to take it away anywhere, it's just a case of unplugging the effects loop, send and return, guitar and amp input and the power supply, and the whole thing just picks up and ready to go. Lastly, let's just talk about what the pedals are actually fixed onto the board with. Now, before, when I've built pedal boards, I've used very heavy duty industrial Velcro. What I've used here is this stuff, Bonding Solutions pedal board tape. This is excellent stuff. If you've bought Velcro before, you'll know that it comes in sort of like two halves. So you get a meter of Velcro, you get a meter strip of like the hook, and a meter strip of the loop. This stuff, it comes in a single row, like that, and it actually fixes to itself. It doesn't need a hook and loop. So if you buy a meter of this stuff, you literally get 1 meter of tape, which will give you 50 centimeters of coverage. So if you're buying some, bear that in mind. But having said that, it is ridiculously strong stuff. You know, a strip off the tape of, you know, an inch or so onto, you know, either side of the pedal. Fix that onto the board. You know, I am lifting. You know, I can comfortably lift up the pedal board just without. There's no way that is moving. It's really strong. You pretty much need to lever the pedals off. The tape is that strong. So a little does go quite a long way, and I heartily recommend that. And they don't pay me for this as an endorsement. It's a product that was recommended to me by somebody else, and I will pass that recommendation on. So I'll put a link in the information section below for where you can buy this stuff, because it is absolutely awesome stuff, and I don't think any pedal board is complete without it. So there you go. There's a look at my pedal board as it currently stands. Hopefully that's given you a few ideas about, you know, the way pedals are organised, the order that they're in, the signal path and so on. And if you're thinking about building your own pedal board or whatever, maybe it's just giving you a few ideas that you might want to incorporate. As always, if you've got any questions or suggestions for future videos, then if you go here, there's a form you can fill in, and I'll try and get around to answering your question in a future video. And if you like the video, please click like, subscribe or comment on all the various options that YouTube gives you down there. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in another video next time. Bye for now.